My name is Tamathy, and I grew up in a small town in Missouri, and I'm the oldest of 21 kids. There were 12 girls, 9 boys, no twins, same parents. And I left home when I was almost 19 years old. I went from Missouri to Idaho to go to college because I thought Idaho was far enough away that that would be good. So I went to Idaho, and it was winter, and I decided to go on the train. And my grandpa had been living in the same town as us for a while, and he decided that it was time for him to leave town as well and see the West. And my grandma had passed away a few years before, and my grandpa had decided that once my grandma was gone, that nothing mattered to him, and he got rid of everything that he owned, which was a lot. He would have been on the show Hoarders now, but he got rid of everything, and he moved into a camper in the back of a truck. And he'd grown his beard out all long and white so that the girls would stop chasing him. He looked like Santa Claus, but he preferred to be called Papa Smurf. And he decided that he would go with me on this big trip out west, and he would see the country again. And so my family loaded up all the kids in the car, and we drove to a little town nearby where I would catch the Amtrak. And my parents helped me, my grandpa helped me, they helped me pack. They emptied a lot of old stuff out of some of my grandpa's old suitcases so that I could put my stuff in it to take to college. And they were all mismatched and really old. And my dad, being very helpful and worried that I might lose my belongings or they could possibly be stolen by possibly an old suitcase collector, he wrote my name in indelible marker on the outside of each of the suitcases. And then my grandpa wrapped them each in baling twine so that I would look cool, I guess. So we went to the train station in this little town, and all my brothers and sisters were lined up, and they were all crying, which surprised me because up until this point they hadn't acted at all like they would miss me or like they had even liked me at all. But I guess at that point they'd realized I had been doing most of the cooking for like the last 10 years, and or maybe they just thought that their favorite maid was leaving, I don't know. But they were sad, they were all crying. And my dad, we were raised Mormon, and so my dad did something that Mormon dads do. They usually do it at home, like a few nights before you leave home. But my dad had put this off, maybe thinking that I wasn't actually going to do this, or maybe he was nervous, but he gave me a blessing, which means that he put his hands on my head. We had to go sit in the van while the kids stood outside, so it would be private. And he put his hands on my head, and he said a special prayer, and he blessed me that I would be safe, and that I would do well on my own, and all of those great things that dads want for their kids when they leave. And then just to be safe, after the special blessing and prayer, he gave me a tiny little pocket knife that he keeps in his front pocket under his stomach. And he pulled that out, and it's about this big. And he gave me that for protection on the train. But he reminded me that this was still his pocket knife, that I was just borrowing it. So I took my dad's favorite pocket knife, and I went and hugged all of my brothers and sisters goodbye, and my grandpa had made acquaintances, and he said goodbye to all the other people that were waiting for the train. And we went to get on the train. Now, other people had gotten off the train to, stretch their legs, and they had seen all of this. And so as I got back on the train, all of the people on the train were crying. And they were patting me on the back and clasping my hands and welcoming me into the world. It was horrible and embarrassing, and not the cool way that I had wanted to strike out on my own. But my grandpa and I were off on the Amtrak, and my grandpa was so excited. He took off immediately and went all through the train exploring, and he came back with all kinds of tiny soaps and shampoos and free peanuts and everything that he could find that was free on the train, and a lot for me since I would be needing these things for college. And so he filled my lap with all of this stuff. And then we started on our big trip. And most of the way, my grandpa told me my genealogy. And so I looked out the window at everything that went by, because he usually would get stuck on like one ancestor and start hitting himself in the head for not remembering what day they were born or something like that. But I saw wonderful things. I saw mountains for the first time, and I saw just piles of snow, and I saw people sitting in hot springs in Colorado in the snow. And there were 2 little girls from Australia on the train who had never seen snow before. And we would stop, and everyone would get off the train and make snowballs and bring them back for these little girls, and we had a snowball fight on the train. I loved traveling by train, and ever since then, when I have a big transition to make, to travel across the country for some reason, I always want to go by train. So you have time to stretch it out and to think about this huge transition in your life. Flying is too fast to make that kind of transition. So I learned to love the train. And my grandpa had such a good time. He tried to go to the viewing car at night, got escorted back by the guards, and it was embarrassing and everything. But we finally made it to Idaho, and we pulled into Pocatello. There was a huge snowstorm. And we got trapped, and we had to spend the night in the station there. The guy at the station locked it up and left my grandpa and I there to sleep in the station. My grandpa said he would take the first watch, but he never woke me up. I slept the whole time. And the next day, we caught a ride to the town where my school was. There was so much snow that the college was shut down for the day. The housing department was still open. So we went in, and my grandpa billowed in. This is a Mormon school, and my grandpa looked like a prophet, coming in out of the snow with his long white beard. The housing office was very impressed. They found me a room and a job the first day. And then my grandpa gave me a hug, and he gave me $100 and wished me luck, and went back out the door into the blizzard. And the people in the housing department said, "Where is he going?" And I said, "He wants to see the West." And that's how I went to college.